Keanu arrived at the Apex Studios offices in Burbank mid-afternoon. The building was glass and steel, modern, intimidating in that corporate way. He was here for a marketing meeting about the upcoming release of Shadow Protocol 3, the third film in his hit spy action franchise. The series had become a golden goose for the studio. First film made $400 million worldwide. Second made $600 million. Third was projected even higher. He played Alexander Cruz, a super agent with moral complexity. The role had become defining. Audiences loved it. Critics respected it. The studio made billions from it. The meeting was scheduled for 3 p.m. Keanu arrived early, as always. Habit from decades of professionalism. He parked in the executive lot, walked into the main building, headed for the elevators. The lobby was impressive. Posters of Apex's successful franchises covered the walls. Shadow Protocol was prominent. His face, large and intense, holding a weapon. The third film was releasing in 3 weeks. Advanced ticket sales were excellent. The review embargo lifted next week, but test audiences had loved it. Everything looked good. The elevator arrived. He stepped in, pressed 11. Executive offices. The doors closed. The elevator rose smoothly. At the 8th floor, the doors opened. No one entered, but he heard voices. From a hallway adjacent to the elevators. 2 voices, male, talking loudly. Not shouting, but not trying to be quiet either. The elevator door stayed open. The system held it if someone was nearby. Keanu was about to press the close button when he heard his name. He froze. Listened. Reeves is too old for the franchise, one voice said. Male, maybe mid-40s, confident tone. He's 58. By the time we make Shadow Protocol 4 and 5, he'll be over 60. You can't sell a 60-year-old as an action star. A second voice, slightly older, replied. Fans will adjust. We replace him with someone younger. Someone in their mid-30s, 40 max, fresh face. We can write it as a character replacement. Cruz retires, new agent takes over. Fans will be upset for a week, then they'll forget. You sure? Reeves is synonymous with Cruz now. That's risky. Everything's risky, but he's demanding $20 million per film now. Pretty bacon. We could get someone younger for $5 million. Maybe 10 if they're hot. Save $15 million per film. Over 5 films, that's $75 million. That's what the board cares about. The economics need to make sense. When do we announce? After Shadow Protocol 3 releases. Will it be a hit? Let Reeves do his press tour. Then, maybe a month after release, we announce a creative decision. Thank him for his service, announce a new direction. It's done all the time. Bond did it 6 times. Audiences adapt. Does Reeves know? No. And we don't tell him until after release. Don't want him sulking during press. Need him selling the film, not complaining about being replaced. We'll handle it after. The elevator door started closing. The censor had lost presence. Keanu stood there, frozen, processing what he'd just heard. The doors closed completely. The elevator continued to 11. When the doors opened on the executive floor, Keanu stepped out mechanically. His mind was racing. They were replacing him, after this film, without telling him, planning to use him to promote the movie, then discard him. This was betrayal. Cold, calculated betrayal. He walked toward the reception area, greeted the assistant, who smiled brightly. Mr. Reeves, they're ready for you in the conference room. Thank you. His voice was even, professional, no hint of what he'd just heard. He followed the assistant to the conference room. Large space, views over Burbank. Long table, 6 people already present. The marketing team, 2 producers. One of them was Michael Grant, who'd produced the Shadow Protocol franchise from the beginning. The other was an executive Keanu didn't recognize well. They all stood, greeted him. Handshakes, smiles, professional warmth. Everyone acting like everything was normal, like they weren't planning to push him out. The meeting was about marketing, press strategy, interview schedule, premieres, social media pushes, standard stuff. Keanu participated, answered questions, agreed to requests. But part of his mind was separate, observing, analytical, planning. After an hour, the meeting wrapped. He thanked everyone, left, walked back to the elevators, descended to the parking garage, got in his car, sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, processing. He could confront the studio, march into someone's office, demand explanations, threaten to walk, make a scene. But that wasn't him. That wasn't how he operated. Plus, it would give them control, put him on defense. No, the better way to handle this, the better way to protect himself, was to be smarter. Be strategic. Turn their betrayal into their own weakness. He started the car, drove out of the garage. A plan was forming. It would take time, take coordination, but it could work. If he did it right, the studio wouldn't just keep him on. They'd beg him to stay. On his terms. First step was information. Keanu needed to know more. Who made the decision? How far along was it? Were there contracts signed with replacement actors? He had a contact. Lisa Chun, his publicist for 15 years. She also happened to work closely with Apex on many projects. Had relationships throughout the studio. Heard gossip. Knew where bodies were buried. He called her from the car. She picked up after 2 rings. Keanu, hey. How was the meeting? Informative. Lisa, I need you to dig into something. Discreetly. Her tone shifted. Professional to concerned. Of course. What do you need? I overheard rumors that Apex might be considering replacing me after Shadow Protocol 3. I need to know if it's true. Who's behind it? How concrete it is. Silence. Then shit. Where did you hear this? Doesn't matter. Can you find out? Give me 24 hours. I have contacts at the studio. People who owe me favors. I'll dig. Thank you. The next day, Lisa called back. Her voice was tense. It's real. The decision came from Brand Henderson, head of the studio, and Rick Collins, head of physical production. They're already quietly auditioning actors. No offers made yet, but they have a short list. They're planning to announce after Shadow Protocol 3 has a successful opening. Use the momentum from that to soften fan backlash. Do I have names on the short list? 3 actors, all in their early to mid-30s. Less known, cheaper. Studio wants to save costs. Keanu paused. How many people know? At the studio? Maybe a dozen. Top executives. Some producers. It's being kept tight. They're paranoid about leaks. Good. Thank you, Lisa. Keanu, what are you going to do? I'm not sure yet. But something. Be careful. Apex is a big studio. They have power. So do I. He hung up, sat in his home office, thinking. The information confirmed what he'd overheard. This wasn't speculation. This was a concrete plan. Now, he needed to create leverage. The best leverage was a competing project, something that threatened Shadow Protocol directly. He made a list of studios who might be interested. Paramount, Warner Brothers, Universal, Sony, all had appetite for action franchises. All competed with Apex. But he needed someone specific, someone who'd be aggressive, willing to move fast. He thought of Karen Thompson, head of production at Meridian Pictures. Smaller studio, but ambitious. They made several smart pickups the last couple years, building a reputation for actor-friendly projects. He'd met Karen at industry events, always found her smart, direct, strategic. He called her assistant. This is Keanu Reeves. I'd like to meet with Karen. There might be an opportunity she'd be interested in. The meeting was set for the next day. Private, her office after hours. No one would know. No one would see. When Keanu arrived, Karen personally met him at the door. She was mid-40s, sharp-eyed, with the look of someone always thinking 3 steps ahead. Keanu, this is a surprise. A good one, but a surprise. What can I do for you? They sat in her office. It was smaller than the Apex executive spaces, but more personal. Awards on shelves. Posters of films she'd made. Tangible pride in the work. Karen, I'll give it to you straight. Apex is planning to replace me in the Shadow Protocol franchise. They're keeping it quiet, announcing after Shadow 3 releases. They think the franchise is bigger than the actor. Karen's eyes widened. That's insane. You are Shadow Protocol. The fans love you. I agree. But they're making a cold calculation. I'm expensive. I'm aging. They think they can replace me and save money. They're wrong, but it's their decision. Why are you telling me this? Because I have a proposal. What if we make a competing franchise? Similar genre. Spy thriller. But better. Smarter. I bring everything I've learned from Shadow Protocol. We build something that directly competes. Pulls the same audience. Karen leaned forward. Interested. You're serious? Completely. I even have a concept. An agent who goes rogue, takes his unique skills to the private sector. Moral complexity. Personal stakes. Global scale. We call it Eclipse Protocol. That could work. Budget. We keep it lean. 90 million. I take a smaller upfront salary, more back end. We focus on story, character, practical action, not CGI spectacle. Timeline. We can start production in 6 months. Film releases 18 months out. Right when Apex announces Shadow Protocol 4 with a new actor. We own the conversation. We fragment their audience. Karen was quiet, thinking. Then, Keanu, this is risky. Apex won't be happy. They could make things difficult for Meridian. They could try, but Meridian has independent financing. You don't rely on their distribution. Plus, think of the PR. Keanu Reeves, wronged by a studio, creates a new franchise elsewhere. Fans will rally behind it. It's almost guaranteed success. And if Shadow Protocol 3 flops, it won't. I've seen the previews. It's solid. Maybe the best in the trilogy. It'll hit. Which makes my replacement even more stupid. Karen smiled. You've already thought this through. I've had 24 hours to do nothing but think about it. Karen and Keanu spent the next 3 hours planning. They discussed writers. Alex Garland, who'd done Ex Machina and Annihilation. Smart, cerebral, but could do action. They discussed directors. Catherine Bigelow would be ideal, but she was busy. They settled on the idea of Denis Villeneuve. Intellectual, visual, proven with action through Sicario and Blade Runner 2049. Karen made notes. I'll get my legal on this tomorrow. We'll start structuring the deal. Do I need you exclusive on this? 3 films, with option for more. I also want a producer credit. Real input, not just a title. Done. Anything else? Keep this completely confidential. If Apex learns about it before we're ready, they might try to block it. Legal threats, interference with talent, whatever. We move quietly until we're unstoppable. Understood. They shook hands. Keanu left. The plan was forming. But he needed one more piece. The one that would make all of this work. He needed the fans on his side. Keanu wasn't on social media. Never had been. Valued privacy too much. But he understood the power of it. Knew how fan communities worked. How information spread. How outrage could build momentum. He had a contact. Marcus, who ran the largest online fan community for Shadow Protocol. Managed the biggest Reddit forum. 100,000 members. Active, passionate, vocal. Keanu had used Marcus before for unofficial communications with fans. Never anything controversial. Just small updates. Thank yous. Kind gestures. But this was different. This was weaponizing the fan base. Keanu wrote a careful message. Nothing direct. Nothing traceable back to him. Just a piece of information framed as rumor. Word is that Apex is considering rebooting the Shadow Protocol franchise with a new lead after SP3. Unconfirmed, but several insiders say plans are in motion. He sent it to Marcus through an encrypted messenger app. Didn't ask him to post it. Just shared the information. Trusted Marcus to do with it what he thought was right. Marcus posted it as a rumor from a reliable source on the Reddit forum within hours. The reaction was immediate. Explosive. What the fuck? They can't replace Keanu. He is Alexander Cruz. If this is true, I'm boycotting every Apex film. Someone start a petition. We need to stop this. Within 24 hours, the story was picked up by fan news sites. Rumors suggest Apex may reboot Shadow Protocol without Keanu Reeves. Within 48 hours, it was in the trade publications. Variety. Hollywood Reporter. They didn't confirm it, but reported on the fan reaction. Shadow Protocol fans outraged over rumors of possible actor replacement. Social media exploded. Hashtag #KeepKeanu trended on Twitter. Fans created video essays. Posted their favorite moments of Keanu as Cruz. Argued why he was irreplaceable. A petition on change.org got 200,000 signatures in a week. The pressure was building. Inside Apex, executives were panicking. The rumor wasn't supposed to leak. They weren't ready for this reaction. The PR team went into damage control. They released a careful statement. Apex Studios is committed to the Shadow Protocol franchise and values our partnership with Keanu Reeves. Any rumors about changes beyond Shadow Protocol 3 are speculation. We have made no announcements regarding future projects. But the statement was carefully worded. It didn't deny the rumor, just said they hadn't made announcements yet. Fans saw through it. The explosion continued. They're not denying it. This is PR spin. They're totally planning to replace him. Boycott Apex. Apex stock started sliding. Not dramatically, but noticeably. Investors were nervous. If the Shadow Protocol franchise was at risk, it affected their projected revenues. If the fanbase was hostile, it risked future releases. The board of directors started asking questions. Brand Henderson, head of the studio, the man who'd made the decision to replace Keanu, was in the hot seat. He called an emergency meeting. Top executives, head of PR, legal. How did this leak? He demanded. We were discreet. Someone talked, the PR head said. Maybe someone in production. Maybe an actor on the short list. Maybe even Reeves himself. Reeves doesn't know, Rick Collins insisted. He was head of physical production. We didn't tell him. Then who? No one had answers. Meanwhile, the pressure continued building. Journalists started digging. One reporter from Hollywood Reporter got a source inside Apex who confirmed the replacement plans were real. The story ran. Exclusive. Apex Studios plans to replace Keanu Reeves in Shadow Protocol franchise. Now it was official. Not just rumor. Confirmed. And the entire industry, the entire fanbase, was reacting. Through all of this, Keanu remained publicly silent. No comment. No statements. His publicist, Lisa, declined all interview requests. Mr. Reeves is focused on promoting Shadow Protocol 3. He's not commenting on rumors. It was a masterful play, letting others fight the battle. Fans, press, the stock market, all creating pressure on Apex without Keanu doing anything. He was above it, dignified, focused on the work. But privately, he was moving pieces into place. Meridian Pictures finalized the Eclipse Protocol deal. Alex Garland was on board as writer. Denis Villeneuve was interested as director, though his schedule needed working out. Financing was secured. Production could start in 6 months. Everything was ready. Keanu also quietly reached out to several key players. Other actors, directors, people who'd worked with Apex and felt mistreated. He asked them, hypothetically, if they'd be interested in working with Meridian instead. Many said yes. Alliances were forming. Keanu was building a coalition. Shadow Protocol 3 released on schedule. 3 weeks after the rumor first leaked. The premiere was huge. Red carpet, fans screaming, press everywhere. But the energy was strange. Tense. Every reporter asked the same question. Keanu, is it true you're not returning for Shadow Protocol 4? He smiled, diplomatically deflected. We're here to celebrate Shadow Protocol 3. It's a fantastic film. The team did incredible work. That's what I'm focused on. But the rumors, I don't comment on rumors. Thank you. The press tour was more the same. Every interview, every appearance, the question hung there. Keanu remained professional, promoted the film, praised his collaborators, thanked the fans, gave the studio no reason to complain about his behavior. The film opened to massive numbers. 130 million domestic first weekend. Critical reviews were excellent. Audiences loved it. It was a triumph. Best in the trilogy. Keanu had done his part. Now it was time for Apex to do theirs. A week after Shadow Protocol 3 released, Brand Henderson, head of Apex Studios, personally called Keanu. Keanu, we need to talk. In person. Can we meet? Of course. Your office. I'd prefer neutral ground. Maybe my home. This is delicate. They met the next day. Brand's house was in the Hollywood Hills. Impressive. Modern. Views across the city. But Brand didn't look like a man enjoying his success. He looked strained, exhausted. He greeted Keanu, led him to a private study. No one else present. No assistants. No witnesses. Keanu, I'll be direct. We made a mistake. The plans to replace you were short-sighted. We didn't fully appreciate your value to the franchise. Or the fan reaction. We'd like to make this right. Keanu sat calm. How so? We want you back for Shadow Protocol 4, 5, and potentially more. We're offering $25 million per film, plus increased backend, full creative consultation, and a producer credit. Real input, not just a title. That's a generous offer. It's what you deserve. We were wrong. I was personally wrong. I let financial considerations cloud creative reality. You were shadow protocol. We understand that now. Keanu paused. Let's sit. Then, I appreciate the apology and the offer. But I have a question. Who made the original decision to replace me? Brand hesitated. It was a collective decision. Several executives. Names, Brand. I need names. Brand sighed. I was one. It was my decision ultimately. Rick Collins, head of physical production, supported it. So did Jennifer Liu, our CFO. But final responsibility is mine. The three of you discussed this privately? Yes. It was sensitive. We kept the circle small. I see. Here's my problem, Brand. You three made a decision behind my back. Plan to announce it after using me to promote Shadow Protocol 3. That's a betrayal of trust. How can I work with a studio where key executives see me as an interchangeable commodity instead of a partner? Understand. And we're committed to rebuilding that trust. What do you need from us? Keanu leaned forward. 3 things. First, Rick Collins and Jennifer Liu are released. Immediately. They can't be part of this studio while I'm working with it. Brand paled. Keanu, that's their key executives. Rick's been here 20 years. Jennifer manages our finances. Releasing them creates instability. They should have thought of that before planning to replace your most valuable actor. This is non-negotiable. They go or I do. And me? I made the final decision. You've acknowledged your mistake. You've apologized. And you're head of the studio. Releasing you destabilizes the entire company. But Rick and Jennifer, they can be replaced. And they should be. Brand was quiet, calculating. Then second and third things. Second, I want a producer seat. Not just credit. Real power. I have final say on casting, script, directing. I approve budgets and marketing plans. Shadow Protocol becomes my franchise, not just my job. That's unusual, but we can structure it. Third, I want increased ownership stake. Instead of just performance salary and back-end, I want the back-end percentage increased by 2 points per film. I share the risk, I share the reward. Brand hesitated. 2 points on back-end is significant. Over 5 films, that could be $100 million or more in your pocket. Yes, it could, if the films do well, which they will with the right leadership. And Brand, let's be clear, this isn't just about money. It's about respect, about recognition that I'm not an interchangeable part. I'm the franchise, and I should be compensated accordingly. I'll need to take this to the board. Financial commitments of this caliber require their approval. Of course. But Brand, while you do that, you should know something. I have other options. Brand looked wary. What do you mean? Meridian Pictures has offered me a 3-film deal. A new franchise. Similar to Shadow Protocol, but unique. I have producing power, creative control, generous financial terms. We can start production in 6 months. Brand's face went white. You made a deal with a competitor? I've developed options. Because I learned Apex didn't value me. Meridian sees the value in a long-term partnership. Apex saw me as a depreciating asset. I prefer partnership. But if Apex can't offer that, Meridian will. Keanu, this if you make a competing franchise, it directly undercuts us. Shadow Protocol 4, without you, is already risky. But with you starring in a competing film at another studio, we're dead in the water. Maybe. Or maybe you find another actor who can make it work. Like you originally planned. But Brand, let's not pretend this is my problem. It's yours. You created this situation by planning to replace me. Now you live with the consequences. Either you pay the price to keep me, or you let me go and compete against me. Silence. Long, uncomfortable silence. Brand rubbed his face. Give me 3 days. I need to talk to the board. Legal. Finance team. We'll work something out. Keanu stood. 3 days. After that, I'm moving forward with Meridian. With or without Apex's blessing. The Apex board of directors met in emergency session. Usually they met quarterly. This was out of cycle. Crisis mode. Brand presented the situation. Keanu's demands. The Meridian deal alternative. the financial implications of both choices. If we meet his terms, Brand explained, we pay more per film, but we keep our most profitable franchise. If we don't, we lose Reeves and risk Shadow Protocol for failing. Plus, his competing film pulls our audience. It's a double-hit scenario. One board member, an older man in his 70s, spoke. Reeves is bluffing. Meridian's a smaller studio. They can't finance something at Shadow Protocol scale. They can. Jennifer Liu objected. She was the CFO, one of the people on the chopping block. She knew it. Looked defensive. Meridian has independent financing. Deep pockets. Plus, with Reeves attached, they'll attract top talent. It's a viable threat. Another member spoke. His demands are excessive. Releasing Rick and Jennifer? Destabilizing. Giving him producer power? Sets a dangerous precedent. Every major star will demand the same. Maybe, Brand said. But Reeves isn't a typical star. He built Shadow Protocol. It's his face, his performance, his relationship with fans. Without him, the franchise is hollow. The discussion lasted 2 hours. Financial models were run, risks assessed, legal weighed in on contractual options. Finally, the board chair, a woman named Elizabeth Morand, made the decision. We meet his terms. Rick and Jennifer, I'm sorry, but you'll be released. We'll structure severance packages. Keanu gets producer power. Increase backend. Everything he asked for. Because the math is clear. We lose more without him than we pay to keep him. Brand, make the deal happen. Brand nodded. Relief visible. I'll call him today. Brand called Keanu that evening. We agree. All 3 demands. Rick and Jennifer will be released by end of week. You get the producer seat with full authority. Backend increased 2 points per film. Our legal will send contracts tomorrow. I appreciate this, Brand. It's the right decision. Keanu, can I ask something? Sure. The Meridian deal. Was it real? Or was it just negotiating tactic? Keanu paused. Smiled though Brand couldn't see it. It was real. Fully negotiated. Financing in place. Talent attached. I would have done it if Apex didn't agree. Shit. We were closer to losing you than I thought. Yes, you were. But you made the right choice. Now, let's make Shadow Protocol for the best in the series. They hung up. Keanu sat in his home office, looking out over the Los Angeles night. He'd won. Not just survived. Thrived. Turned betrayal into opportunity. Used the studio's own greed against them. And now he controlled the franchise. Dictated terms. Will be protected from future, similar maneuvers. This wasn't about revenge. Not really. It was about respect. About ensuring he was never again in a position where his future was decided behind his back. About proving that loyalty and value mattered. Apex announced a week later. The press release was carefully crafted. Apex Studios is thrilled to announce that Keanu Reeves is returning to the Shadow Protocol franchise in an expanded role. Reeves will not only star, but also serve as executive producer on all future installments. We are committed to our partnership with Keanu and continuing the Shadow Protocol legacy under his leadership. Additionally, Apex announces that Rick Collins and Jennifer Liu are pursuing other opportunities. We thank them for their contributions and wish them well in their future endeavors. The reaction was immediate. Fans celebrated. Hashtag Keanu wins trended. Social media exploded with celebrations. Knew they couldn't replace him. Keanu is the only one who matters in this franchise. Let's go Shadow Protocol 4. Trade publications dug deeper. Reported on Rick and Jennifer's departures. Speculated about Keanu's deal terms. One reporter at Hollywood Reporter, Perceptive, wrote a piece. How Keanu Reeves outmaneuvered Apex Studios into giving him everything. The article detailed the negotiating tactics. Leaking the rumor. Fan pressure. The Meridian deal as leverage. It was all there. Reading like a masterclass in using power strategically. Apex was uncomfortable with the article, but nothing they could do. It was accurate, and it made Keanu look brilliant. Which, to be fair, he was. Production on Shadow Protocol 4 began 9 months later. Keanu wasn't just the star, but now key decision-maker. He worked closely with writers, shaped the script, added nuance to his character. ensured the franchise evolved. He sat in on casting sessions, found the perfect antagonist, a young actress named Zendaya who brought intensity and complexity. He consulted on director choice. They went with Gareth Evans, who'd made the Raid films. Practical, intense action, perfect for where the franchise was heading. The budget was tightly controlled. Keanu argued for $90 million, not the $150 Apex wanted. More money doesn't make a better film, he argued. It makes a bigger film. We focus on story, character, practical action. CGI only where it enhances, not replaces. The approach worked. Production was smooth, efficient. The crew was small, focused, talented. Morale was high because everyone believed in the project. Everyone felt valued. Keanu's role as producer was as much about culture as decisions. He created an environment where everyone's voice mattered, where crew was treated with respect, where collaboration was real. It was a stark contrast to the corporate mindset that had been Apex's standard. Meanwhile, Keanu didn't abandon Meridian. Though he was staying with Apex for Shadow Protocol, he moved forward with Eclipse Protocol as a separate project. But differently. Instead of direct competition, he positioned it as complementary. Different flavor of the same genre. Think of it like MCU versus DC, he explained to Karen Thompson at Meridian. Both superhero films. Both can be successful, not zero-sum. Shadow Protocol is Apex's flagship. Eclipse Protocol will be yours. Different tone, different approach, but both quality. Karen saw the wisdom. So you're not leaving Apex? I never said I was leaving. I said I had options. Those options gave me negotiating power. Now I can do both. Apex gets me for Shadow Protocol. You get me for Eclipse Protocol. Everyone wins. Except we're competing for the same audience. Different release dates. Sufficient spacing. We coordinate so we don't undercut each other. In fact, it could be beneficial. Fans of spy genre get twice the content. We expand the pie instead of fighting for slices. Meridian agreed. Eclipse Protocol moved forward, but on a delayed schedule. Release planned 2 years out, giving Shadow Protocol for its moment without interference. A year into the process, Keanu reflected. He was in an interview with Variety, promoting Shadow Protocol 4. The reporter asked about the drama from the previous year. The rumors, the negotiations, the uproar. It was educational, Keanu said. I learned that even when you're a longtime partner, you can't assume loyalty. Studios make business decisions. Sometimes those decisions feel like betrayals, but they're just numbers on a spreadsheet to executives. How did you handle that? Strategically. Reacting emotionally would have been satisfying in the moment, but counterproductive long-term. Instead, I focused on creating leverage, on options, on demonstrating my value, on letting the market decide my worth. It worked. Some say you manipulated the situation, leaked the rumor to fans, used them as weapons. Keanu smiled. I can't control how information spreads. What I did was ensure the truth came out. Fans deserve to know what the studio was planning. They're stakeholders in this franchise as much as anyone. Their voices mattered. Do you regret anything about how you handled it? No. I wish it hadn't been necessary. I wish Apex had trusted me enough to speak honestly from the beginning. But in the absence of that, I did what I needed to protect my career and the franchise I'd helped build. No regrets. Shadow Protocol for released 2 years later. Opened to $150 million domestic. Best opening in the series. Critics loved it. Audiences loved it. Zendaya broke out. Gareth Evans' directing was praised. The practical action became the standard against which other films were measured. It wasn't just a financial success. It was a cultural moment. Memes, fan theories, cosplay, video essay analysis. Shadow Protocol had become more than a franchise. It was a phenomenon, and at the center of it, Keanu, not just as actor, but as producer, as visionary, as leader. His fingerprints were on every aspect of the film, and it showed. Apex celebrated. Brand Henderson publicly thanked Keanu in interviews. Keanu was right. About everything. We were foolish to consider replacing him. He's not just a star of Shadow Protocol. He's its soul. We're fortunate he's our partner. Behind the scenes, the atmosphere at the studio had shifted. New executives in place of Rick and Jennifer. These ones more collaborative, more respectful of talent, more open to creative input. Keanu, inadvertently, had reshaped how Apex operated. His hard stand had sent a message. Talent mattered. Relationships mattered. Shorter financial gains were less important than long-term partnerships. With Shadow Protocol 4 successful, Keanu turned attention to Eclipse Protocol. Meridian Pictures was ready to go. Denis Villeneuve was now fully committed as director. Alex Garland had finished the script. It was darker than Shadow Protocol, more psychological. An agent who goes independent, using his skills for private clients, but slowly discovering he's being manipulated by larger forces. It was less about spectacle, more about paranoia and moral dilemmas. The casting was unique. Keanu starred, but he insisted on an ensemble approach. Tilda Swinton as his former handler, Oscar Isaac as a rival agent, Rebecca Ferguson as a client who becomes an ally. It was a stacked deck of talent. Production began a year after Shadow Protocol 4 released. Perfect timing. Enough separation so it didn't feel like competition, but close enough to leverage Keanu's rising popularity. Meridian gave Keanu the same producer authority he had at Apex. Maybe more. It was a smaller studio, more flexible, more willing to take risks. He thrived in the environment. Eclipse Protocol shot on locations around the world. Berlin, Tokyo, Cairo, Istanbul gave it a global feel, different from the American-centric Shadow Protocol. Post-production was elegant. Minimalist score from Johann Johansson. Cinematography from Roger Deakins. It was a work of art as much as an action film. The dual franchise strategy was unprecedented. Most actors did one major franchise at a time. Commitments were too large. Schedules too demanding. But Keanu made it work. He planned carefully. Shadow Protocol films every 2 to 3 years. Eclipse Protocol films staggered, never producing both simultaneously. He also used his position strategically. On Shadow Protocol, he was the actor-producer shaping a major studio franchise. On Eclipse Protocol, he was the auteur building something smaller, more artistic. Two different muscles, two different brands. Fans loved both. Some preferred Shadow Protocol's spectacle. Others preferred Eclipse Protocol's complexity. But both were successful, both critically respected, both profitable. It defined a new paradigm. An actor not just as star, but as producer, businessman, franchise creator. Keanu became the model. 10 years after the original betrayal, Keanu reflected on what had happened. He was in a late-night conversation with an old friend, another actor who'd been through something similar. They thought they could replace me, Keanu said. Thought the franchise was bigger than the actor. Maybe they're right for some franchises, but not for Shadow Protocol. Not for what we'd built. How did you know to play it so well? I didn't know. I just reacted. But I reacted strategically, not emotionally. That's the key. When someone betrays you, first instinct is anger. Confrontation. But that rarely works. Better to be cool. Plan. Create options. Then negotiate from strength. But leaking the rumor. Weaponizing fans. That was risky. It was, but controlled risk. Truth was on my side. Fans deserved to know, and their reaction proved my value. It wasn't manipulation. It was transparency. Would you do it again? Keanu paused. I hope I never have to. But if I did, yes, I would. Protecting yourself, your career, your value. That's not selfish. That's necessary. Especially in an industry where loyalty is rare and business decisions are cold. 15 years after the original incident, Keanu was 73. Still acting. Still producing. Shadow Protocol had reached its 7th installment. Eclipse Protocol had completed its trilogy. Both franchises were considered classics. Apex Studios was a very different company. Brand Henderson had retired 5 years earlier. New leadership was more collaborative, more valuing of talent. The model Keanu had established, actor as producer, partner instead of just hired gun, had become standard. Meridian Pictures had grown to a major studio, partially from the success of Eclipse Protocol. Karen Thompson was now one of the most powerful executives in Hollywood. She credited her rise to the partnership with Keanu. He taught us that trusting talent, giving them real power, is not just the right thing to do. It's smart business. Rick Collins and Jennifer Liu, the two executives who'd been released, both found new work. Smaller companies, less prestigious. They never regained their previous status. That was the price of their disloyalty. Acondicionalidade. Keanu, in an interview celebrating the 15th anniversary of Shadow Protocol 4, was asked about his greatest professional achievement. It's not the films, he said, though I'm proud of them. It's that I survived betrayal, turned it into opportunity, showed that talent could have power if they were strategic, if they understood their value, if they were willing to stand up for themselves. That's the legacy, not box office numbers, but the idea that actors are partners, not just employees.